That's not yours, it's mine.
Oh.
Ready?
Yep.
All right, I'll call the meeting of the Wyoming County IDA Board meeting to order. This is August 21st, 2025. We do have an agenda, and I will ask the people around the table to introduce themselves for the purposes of establishing our group. Scott?
Scott Gardner, IDA staff.
Kevin Zanner, IDA counsel.
Brett Hastings with EAS.
Joe Grzalski, IDA.
Becky Ryan, IDA member.
Doug Burwanger, IDA Board member.
Tom McCormick, IDA board member.
Jim Pierce, IDA staff.
Jennifer Tishka, IDA staff.
Robin Marshalek, IDA staff.
Very good. First item on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes from July 10th, 2025. Everyone had an opportunity to review them. If someone would like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the minutes from July 10th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, to review the financial reports for July 25. Robin?
Yes, thank you. We started out the month with $219,389 in cash and $2,267,885 in invested funds. We brought in $20,000 in interest on CDs. We had some of our typical monthly expenses, insurance, lease expense, and our wages, and then we ended up the month with $174,130 in the bank in cash and $2,280,830 in CDs.
Very good. Any questions or comments? If not, someone would like to make a motion to approve the financial report.
I would make a motion to approve the financial report.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the financial reports. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, Jim, an update on the executive director search.
Yeah, so we advertised a couple weeks ago. We started, put ads in the Penny Saver, LinkedIn, the New York State Economic Development Council website, and a number of other places. We received a total of 6 resumes. They've been shared with our interview committee, or our selection committee, which is Becky and Brianna Stone, who's not here today. But Brianna has offered to help coordinate the efforts for the interview committee. So she'll be in touch with the rest of the committee soon.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Next action items, request by Valcor Bliss, Newco LLC, and Valcor Weathersfield Newco LLC for IDA assistance. And we have Brett Hastings here, who I believe is going to carry the message on behalf of Valcor. Welcome, Brett.
Thank you very much for welcoming me. I think looking at the agenda, I was talking a little bit earlier, the motivation for the visit is to provide enough information so you guys can get comfortable enough to authorize moving towards a public hearing. So I'm here to really answer questions. I'm going to bring you up to speed on the projects and where we're at, permitting and so forth. And honestly, I prefer getting derailed from an agenda. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to fire away. But the AES portfolio in New York, you may be aware, or maybe not, we have actually 6 projects throughout the state of New York, and we're currently working on all 6, getting all 6 projects constructed and operating by the end of 2029. And so it's a pretty big feat, especially considering we're permitting with the Office of Real Energy Siting, which is ORES, and that's our New York permitting regime. And also dealing with some federal headwinds. That's been a little bit tricky and created some risk for us. But right now, as far as Bliss and Weathersfield is concerned, we're in really good shape. We have submitted our ORES applications just this month. That process takes several years to get all the studies and information together because their permit application process is very robust. And it's tricky because sometimes you don't have all the information at the time you need it to be able to fill that permit, but we've done a pretty good job. Some of our other projects, we have submitted applications, and already before those applications are deemed complete, they send a notice of incomplete, and there's a few things you have to fix, and then it's deemed complete. Luckily, our permitting team has kept that amount of pages limited to about 15, 16 pages, which sounds like a lot, but compared to all the other projects in New York, it's one of the lighter ones. So we've got a great team pulling our permits together. So next steps for Bliss and Weathersfield will be waiting for that notice of incomplete application. And then, so that's approximately 60 days that ORES has to get back to us, and then we have 90 days to get back to them, basically with our completion information. The last one we did, we got back in 45 days, so we cut that 90-day down quite a bit. So we'll likely do the same with Bliss and Weathersfield. So the object there is, right now, the way we're tracking, we wouldn't have our notice to proceed permits until towards the end of 2026. We're trying to trim that back a little bit so that we can get these projects started earlier. One of the reasons being, we have to start construction and build within 4 years to receive the investment tax credit. That will dry up after 2029. Currently, we have 3 projects targeted for a 2028 COD and 3 projects targeted for a 2029 COD. That is all based on turbine supply deliveries, the availability for all of these turbines from one company to be able to deliver to the pad for all these projects in New York, as well as the timing for permitting and the contractor that we use. Can they get all this work done? Can they take all of those turbines down and be able to put all the other ones up and still get it done? So right now, that is the plan, and we're very bullish on that. So that's sort of our permitting update. As far as construction goes, we've got bids going out to our contractors, and we should have bids back from our contractors and turbine supply agreement by the end of this year. So that's sort of the main project. And then if we start talking about host community agreements and pilot agreements, which we want to get sort of resolved as soon as possible so that we can all understand what we're up against as far as the economics of the projects and the timing. That has been started. I believe our applications went in here. Were they
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
For both projects.
Correct.
Yeah. And we've also had opened up conversations with the townships. It's interesting, the difference between Northern New York and Western New York. In Northern New York, they want to start with the host or the pilot agreement up there and then move into the host community agreement. This is definitely a better environment where the towns have representation at the board. So working with the towns to come up with that solution and then moving into the IDA pilot. So we want to get as much paperwork done as possible ahead of time so you guys know we're serious, and then we're going to continue working with the towns on the host community agreement. So we will likely have the host community agreements negotiated and completed in the next few months. And then I suppose we'll have conversations at that point, how to handle all the intricacies of the IDA pilot agreement. One of the things that we want to discuss is, there's still quite a bit of risk to our projects. So we want to make sure we're serious. We want to take advantage of the pilot, and we'll pay the administrative fee. But having to sign up to pay that administrative fee, if for some reason that project doesn't go through, that fee would really cripple the current projects that we have. And if for some reason we cannot build this repower, we would hate to strap our current projects with that, because that would diminish those even quicker than the track they're on. If we don't build these projects, we're going to continue to operate the current projects for the benefit of projects, the company, the community, you know, everything. So that's just a conversation that we would have to have when we're developing, I believe it's a project agreement. Is that-
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So those are some things that's some updates, some concerns that we have, and I've talked enough, so nobody derailed me. I'd like that to happen.
Yeah, so Brent, the applications did come in. We had council review them as well as our staff. And one of the things that we thought was lacking was more information about the number of turbines that are going to be coming in as new. So Eric had sent along, and I don't know if you've seen it or not, this front and back summary.
Okay.
So he talks about the number of wind turbines that are coming into Eagle, and then the number that are coming into Weathersfield.
Great.
And then, you know, how the megawatt is going to change. So we put that in the board packet, so the board members have that information as well.
Great. Perfect time. Did you want me to try to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, because I think there's going to be some questions
Sure.
about that and the height and everything else, so.
Okay. So I'll address height first. So the current height is about 389 feet, tip height, so as the blade spins around from the earth to the tip of the blade. We are looking at 3 different manufacturers of turbines, and none of them are over 650 feet, but all within a few meters of themselves. So we won't be going any taller than 650 feet. So I think that covers the height of those. And of course, it would be take 3 turbines out and put 1 back in, or take 4 turbines out and put 1 back in, because we're looking at a 4.5 megawatt to 6.1 megawatt. Yeah, so that's kind of nice. There's less turbines out there, but the ones that are out there are 30% more efficient, so they're creating a lot more power at lower wind speeds. One of the options that we have with the New York Independent Systems Operator is to avoid a material modification but still increase the size of our project. So for instance, our Bliss project is 100.5 megawatts right now. So we can go to 110.5 megawatts without having to get into material modification agreements with NISO and go through the queues issue. Kind of delay us a couple of years. So we're going to take advantage of that. So in Bliss, we will go from a point of interconnect injection availability of 110.5 megawatts. So that is all we'll ever be able to put into the grid at any certain point. Weathersfield will go from 126 to 136. So those will be the 2, I hesitate to use the word nameplate capacities, because I'm going to take this a little bit further. Our ability to inject power at any certain point is limited to 110.5 and 136.5. We, however, are permitting more turbines than, if you do the math, that it wouldn't add up. So in other words, it wouldn't add up to 110.5. We're going to have more turbines. What that does is it gives the ability for our project to be more efficient. We don't spend a lot of time at 110.5 megawatts, right? So on our way up, if we have a few more turbines, we can hit that 110.5 earlier. Or when we're down here, we can produce more energy at lower wind speeds. So when you say nameplate capacity, we might have 120 megawatts of turbines in Bliss, but we're still only able to put 110.5 or 110.5 megawatts onto the grid at a certain time. So I'm going to stop right there and help adjust anybody, because that's a lot of technical information. Does that make sense? Okay, kind of.
Clear as mud, yeah.
No, that's what I was going
You can lose 120, but you can only put 110.
That's right. That's right.
If they're producing 120, what happens to the rest of that?
You curtail them. So you don't allow those certain turbines to spin fast enough.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're holding back
Exactly.
internally.
That's right. Yeah, can't use any of that energy. However, Joe, if we're at 100, we're producing 100, you know, with that many turbines, it takes less turbines to create 100 megawatts. So we have that ability. And so basically, You know, if you were to go up and down like this is up to 110 megawatts. We're actually increasing the amount of energy we can produce over time. So how does that impact? It doesn't really impact the IDA, but it will impact the towns. The IDA, we're working on, you know, the ejection amounts. You know, we can only go to 110. So that would be what we would consider the, you know, for our agreement for megawatts. For the town, because we've got more turbines in the town, we're going to base our host community agreement payments on the amount of actual megawatts that are installed. So there's a little bit of a difference there. We're impacting the host community, so we're going to pay that additional amount of megawatt per. Oh, sorry, that was a question. And then with the IDA, this is based on our maximum projection. So that's the direction that we're hoping to be able to move forward with. But it's trying to explain that takes a little bit of a few runs through it.
Just an outside question. You got a pretty good breeze,
Mhm.
and they want a good turn. You must have, could be very simple. You must have a pretty good braking system to hold that back.
So it's very simple actually, and it's not even a braking system. The blades, they pitch. So you increase and decrease your lift. So that's the way that if the wind is blowing a certain speed and you have to maintain a certain RPM to generate the electricity.
You can turn them blades slightly to
Exactly.
what you actually think.
Exactly. Yep. If they're faced right directly into the wind, they're not going to spin. There's not enough lift. But if they're, you know, they've got lift, they can
That's
spin.
something good to just, a person would never know that.
Normally they don't really talk about that.
How in the world do you turn?
Yeah.
That's got to be quite a mechanism holding them in there.
That's correct. There's a yaw motor in there that will turn the whole top of the cell into the appropriate wind direction to be as efficient as possible. So it'll spin 100 or 360 degrees. And then there's pitch motors in the hub, you know, where the blades come out of, and the pitch motors, you know, actively turn. And actually, they're smart enough to know that the wind blows faster up here than it does down here. So in order to decrease the wear and tear so the blades aren't swinging back and forth in each rotation, it will actually pitch a little bit to try to keep it
Quite incredible.
smooth. It is really, because all that work the pitch motors are doing is decreasing the wear and tear on the blades, so it's a more consistent spin. But at the same time, it can control the load that it's putting on the grid. It's a good question that makes me know that you're dialing in on it. That helps. Other questions on that?
So the number of turbines that are listed on there, is that pretty accurate?
The number of turbines.
34.
Okay.
and-
Yes, that's accurate for what we are permitting. So it's quite possible that we get through the permitting process and one or two or none are not allowed or potentially removed or whatever. But yes, I would say that number of turbines is what we're permitting, and we've vetted very solidly and feel that will likely go through.
And they're being built on existing sites. They're
Another good question. So the decommissioning process, we're taking all the old turbines down. The current pads that we have are 16 foot. The new pads are quite a bit wider and quite a bit deeper because it's a taller turbine. So the engineering of it is different. So we're not going to build them on the exact same sites. When we built these projects back in 07, we had some wind number availability, you know, based on height and modeling that we could go to, but a lot of it was done on the back of the napkin, really.
Mhm.
Now we have all that information from all these turbines for 18 some years. So now we know exactly where all of the turbines need to go. It used to be we could just kind of move one here and move one there. But now we can tell by moving the turbine 100 feet that it could make several $300 to $1 million difference over the life of the turbine, which is crazy to have
Yeah,
that much, that in-depth information. But the industry has more wind information, and then we have more proprietary information off of all the top spoil turbines from all the years. So, long way around to answer your question. They won't be on the same location, but they will be very nearby. Yeah. We're going to do our best for both the landowners and for us to utilize the same access roads where we can. And we're also having conversations with all of our landowners regarding decommissioning. So we are required by the host community agreement to take the pads out down to 4 feet, collection line and roads. But the majority of the landowners all said, look, we want to keep our roads. We're used to that now. And there's a few on some of the larger farms that might say, hey, that would make me more efficient if that road was gone. But 95% want to keep their roads. At this point, 80% want to keep their turbine pads. Just keep the pad, take the bolts, clean it off. I want to have that pad to be able to do something with, you know.
Put that summer home on.
A lot of options. So we're
Right
working.
next to another turbine.
Yeah. So we're working, actually Ron wants the whole first tier, build a deer stand.
Yeah, right.
So we,
We put an awful lot of concrete in these new pads, don't you?
yes, yes.
Years ago, it got to be a pretty good conflict. I'm talking a few years back now.
Hmm.
And that discussion got brought up. They put so many yards in, so many yards come out,
Mhm.
and they refuse to do that up to 3 foot. Well, I know how that 3 foot works. Once they're gone, you might get 2 foot out on concrete.
Okay.
And you put so much in, you take it out, and that never went over good at all. Of takeout, you know what I mean?
I'm not sure.
This is a different company, way different than you
Oh,
did
okay,
at one
okay.
point. At the board, we felt if you're putting 400 yards of concrete in, once it's dismantled, take 400 out.
I see.
You're talking potential farmland.
Right, but I don't know too many farmers that have any rippers that go deeper than 24 inches. We'll be taking down to 4 feet, so, yeah, I don't know if that'll ever really be in conflict of anything.
Farmers are getting better use of the property. We're ditching, tiling, I can go on and on about that.
Sure, okay, I see.
You know what I mean?
And you could.
And you get some of these
tile-
heavy rains, so you go down to 4 foot.
Mhm.
And if you got kind of a heavier soil, loamy type soil, it
Yeah,
doesn't dry out overnight like good gravel does.
right.
I'm just bringing up points,
Yeah.
which is,
Yeah, I get you. It's already been determined, but I see your point there.
I'm looking at a farmer's point of view,
Yeah,
maybe my point of view.
yeah, sure.
I still own land and I just want to see it used.
The percentage chance that we would have a drain tile line running right through
Yeah.
a 48-foot turn is pretty low, but I could, you could probably go around it at the same time, but I do understand what you're saying.
I'm all about these turbines.
Mhm.
You come in whatever towns, I got some friends, beyond despise them,
Mm.
but you can't explain to them the benefit.
Oh, yeah,
They don't want to hear it.
right,
They don't
right.
want to hear it.
You can.
I can go on and on about that, you know what I mean? And personally, I love them.
We've got a farmer that he stitches corn right into the access road. So you can literally farm right up to the base of them.
No, I love to see it.
The neighboring county, I happen to know some people over there, it's on IDA and it's on their town boards, but they're asking similar questions about construction, like, they have no clue what they're up against, you know? So, I don't know if you communicate, if you have projects over to Allegheny County or not, but there's some common questions that, I mean, they're all brand new to this.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know if this is your project anyway.
The Alley Cat project
Yeah.
south of, were there some questions that?
Yeah, well, the gentleman's is Brent Kelly. He's on the board of, Belfast. And he was deep into asking me questions that are a common thing we were at the other day. And I said, you need to talk to Brent.
Yeah, I'd be glad to chat with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
there's no standard, I mean, is there a state standard that you're, or a kind of a standard that you're mandating throughout the state? Is everything basically the same, or it depends on where your location is?
So there's a lot of regulations that we work with. Are you specifically referring to?
Construction mainly.
Construction?
Yeah,
So.
that was his question.
Yeah, I mean, we work in compliance with ag markets.
Yeah, sure.
Right, so that's also, we've got SWIP permits, we work in compliance with all DEC wetland permits, Army Corps permits.
Yeah.
Actually, we aren't, if we impact more than 1/10 of an acre of federal wetland, we likely will not get a permit. Used to be able to go and get a permit, but right now that's been plugged up. So we've had to rearrange our, and this is why we were planning on actually submitting our permits a month or two before we did. But because we can't get permits through the Army Corps, we had to re-engineer a few of our roads and turbine locations. So we are now not impacting any federal wetlands more than 1/10 of an acre currently in our plan. So it took us a little longer, a little more money to re-engineer that and taking potentially less desirable routes, but if we're gonna build a project without federal wetland impacts, but we can't build it if we have federal wetland impacts, we're not gonna get the approvals over time, in time enough to build. So that's where I was going with that, yes, we have to stay in compliance with all local, state, and federal regulations. That's integrated into our application. So our plan is all in compliance with all those. And then the state goes through all that to make sure that's the case.
The state will allow you to go in any type of wetlands. But yet you can, if a farmer lets you, you can go in some prized, top-notch farmland.
So the state won't necessarily let us go on wetlands.
They won't let them go on wetlands.
Right.
Yeah, well,
But if we do, we will have to.
But the state doesn't care about the
Okay.
good, the quality farming.
Oh, I
Is
see.
that your question, is, Joe?
but the government, Albany or Washington will let you go on good farmland.
Yeah,
That's
if
the
the farmer
solar panel
lets you go
problem.
on.
That's the solar panel problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I know where you're going with it.
Right. That's right. It hasn't become, there's no regulations codified there. Yeah,
Right, right.
I see where you're going with
It's
that.
stable ground that they could
Yeah.
build on, it's not hurt the environment, but it hurts the farmers,
Mhm.
they're using that land. But that's not, well, that's
I guess
That's
that's
solar
more of a
panels.
solar problem.
That's a
Yeah.
normal solar.
Right.
Our government's one of the biggest person against preserving good farmland.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's
Always
another,
has been.
that's the other board we're on.
Yeah.
What they protect in unusable land.
So we started out with heights, we covered that, number of turbines. Yes, this is the one, this is the number of turbines we're permitting. You could vary it a little bit as we get closer. The pilot that we're moving towards would be, 10K total, so it'll be 8K to the town, 2K to pilot, so that's the way I'm understanding it. We're also open to working with the school on an education fund versus a pilot, if that's, the direction that they wanna go. We're doing that in other counties. I know that same pot of money's there, but it might benefit them a little bit more if it wasn't part of a pilot.
So these are two separate applications, one for Eagle, one for Weathersfield.
So just not to be nitpicky, but there's the Weathersfield project and the Bliss project. And Eagle is involved in the Bliss project and the Weathersfield project. So that's the tricky part. So
The
yes.
tricky part will be when it comes to the public hearing, do we have to do,
We're gonna have to do multiples.
yes,
Public hearings.
One for each project.
Or, yes, and for
In each
whichever
municipality.
affected taxing jurisdiction is impacted from that standpoint, so. Okay. Brett, just a question on, while we're talking about the application. Is AES seeking benefits with respect to the decommissioning portion of this project? Your numbers that are baked in here are obviously very large, but is that part of what you're asking? Obviously, you wouldn't, I'm really thinking about the sales tax exemption and the mortgage tax exemption. Are those project costs built in for the taking down of the current windmills and then the new project? That's not clear necessarily.
Yes.
Okay.
My understanding is they're all baked in there, but I'll verify that, but we are considering this as one full project. There are portions of it that we will operate under a different permitting jurisdiction, right? For the decommissioning part, we have a secret permit already in place from the original projects. So, and a decommissioning plan that's in there. We have to alter that decommissioning plan, because when that decommissioning plan was contemplated and built, it was contemplated as if we either were done with the project or going out of business, not making the payments. Now we're taking it down, building another one. So it's something that wasn't even thought of. The full scrape repower was never really thought of 20 years ago. So, yeah. So we'll be permitting it a little differently, but the costs are all part of the project.
Thank you.
So you brought us some maps. Did you want to show us something on the maps?
Yeah, I brought maps. I don't really have any particular point out. However, if anybody had any, questions about it, I thought, be able to go to the map and be a little more interactive than trying to explain it.
When will you know, or do you have an idea of when you'll know for sure what size turbines you'll be using?
The size turbines we're going to be using will be known definitely by the end of the year. Yeah, we're in deep negotiations with 2 out of the 3 that we started with. And we hope to have that buttoned up. We'll definitely have it buttoned up by the end of the year. Trying to have a decision made in the fall and then work on the agreements. Yeah, before.
Because that'll make a difference as to where they're located, right? 'Cause
It will.
Yeah,
And the
depending
number
on the
of
number that you have.
That's right.
Is equipment US made?
That's a tricky question because
You don't have to answer
no,
that.
I will 100%. Yeah, this is it's a world market. Right?
That's
They
understandable.
build them all over. They're building them all over the world. They get a lot of pieces and parts from different parts of the U.S. One of the companies that we're working with has done a really good job at bringing jobs and manufacturing to the U.S. So they're actually manufacturing now in Colorado, and we have enough at this point to meet all of the federal standards for domestic content. But still, some of these companies are, Nordex from Germany and Vestas from the Netherlands. These are the strong players that make the turbines that work and last, and we don't want to put garbage up. So, it's a worldwide, global industry.
Oh, it's like the car industry, right?
That's right.
You can't get an American-made car.
Right. Yeah, you can get
Put it togetger here.
right. You can get more manufacturing in here, and that's what they're trying to do. And I understand that. So right now, our turbine manufacturers are in compliance with the standards that need to be met for domestic content. But there are pieces and parts that come from all over the world, Joe. Yeah.
Oh, that's understandable.
Yeah.
So Brad, I noticed that we're talking about the support for education.
Sure.
And I couldn't help but think about the letter that the ag teacher at Letchworth sent Kelly, used to be West, I don't know what her name is now, but your company sponsored the FFA, who did a presentation to our board, and they went to, I guess, the nationals, and they won first prize. So, and that was all paid for through your company. So that's the kind of thing I think we're looking for with support for education.
Really appreciate you bringing that up. Our team's really proud of that because we were so impressed with those kids. We spent several days at different times for a couple hours where we sat down with them and, at their schedule because, they're running around the school, and they just barraged us with questions, and we gave them our opinions and helped them make sure that things that they were saying on both sides of the ball were accurate, and they really crushed it. I was really impressed with how well they did.
And to go nationally and win, that's pretty impressive.
I think they're going again.
Yeah.
To another competition, and we're gonna be right behind again. So,
Very good.
yeah, it's
Okay,
thank you for bringing that up.
any other questions from Brett?
What are you asking for here? Listen.
So actually, I don't think I'm really
He's not
asking
asking for anything.
Okay.
I just provide enough
He's
information.
prepared.
Yeah, you guys are good with,
Where's Nikki? Why isn't she here?
All the information.
Well, thank you, Brad.
Sure.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yep, yep.
We'll let you go and
All right.
the board will make a decision on the public hearing and
That sounds good. And Robin, if you need to tune anything more up, feel free to call me.
Okay.
and get to the details.
by the way, if the public hearing is authorized, Brad, we're still gonna have to wait on the community overview.
Yes.
Because we're gonna need that information for our meetings.
Yep, you bet. Understood.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you very much.
Great job.
Good to see you again, Brett. Oh, I think we will.
Are you taking the map from you?
I can take them to get them out of your way. I don't think you need them, or would you like them?
It's up to the board. I don't know if we'll reference them. No, we
How
got
many
one
guys
more
would
to
come in here looking for the map of Eagle Point project?
go. Yeah. We'll keep them.
All right.
Well, you know where they are.
Okay.
I do.
Thanks, Hank.
Thank you, Brett.
So the host
Still in the middle of
agreement,
session.
the towns
Sit down.
will be compensated. Where does IDA get their funding for? Explain to me our role in that.
Well, I'll let Jim explain it. I could, but it would be a thumbnail sketch
Sure.
at best.
Sure.
Jim, Tom wants to know how the IDA gets funding. Hi, Mark. All right.
So the IDA does not get any county funding or anything.
So the town use agreement, the use agreement is that they're signing up for each town, they keep those funds and manage it all.
That's a totally separate deal
Okay.
from with the IDA. The IDA charges a 1% fee of the total capital expenditures of each project.
Okay,
So that will be our fee that we have.
so I didn't look at the numbers closely, but they're both over 400 million, that's almost $1 billion. That's
Yes.
1% of that number?
That's correct.
Gotcha.
And then they pay council fees as well. Not 1%. It's not 1%. Well, that's up to you guys. So I think what we're looking for, and as I mentioned to Brett, if you guys want to authorize a public hearing, at least we'll get that motion on the books and then, we'll wait on them. And then once we have that, we can zoom into action. So we want to hold them up any place that.
Having said that, and heard all the testimony, someone like to make a motion to authorize the executive director to schedule public hearings for the Weathersfield and list
Move that,
projects.
Second.
move that.
Motion's made and seconded, all in favor,
Aye.
opposed, carried. Okay,
Most people don't understand the real benefit
Those are huge.
of these projects. Don't have a clue. And try to explain it, and like talking to a blank wall.
Oh, it's terrible. But I will argue that what wasn't brought up, the winter, or the solar panels are a whole nother matter.
Yeah, I don't think the wind turbines impact the agricultural lands as much. I mean, you can still farm around.
They're
those.
beneficial, and those, I know he's talked to them, those driveways are huge. We don't want to fix driveways, we just want to wreck our trucks on our old driveways and our vehicles. Those driveways, you can go 35 miles an hour.
well, I just want to go on record saying, wind projects have been a definite benefit to the economic vitality of Wyoming County.
100%.
Big
Because
time.
without them, the IDA would still be operating on a $125,000 land credit from the county, which was illegal, by the way, so.
The Allegheny counties are drooling. I mean, it was.
They should.
They pay staff.
Now they're questioning, now they got citizens involved and now they're starting to get, be like, well, these aren't so bad. I'm like, no, they're very good. So,
Okay, moving on. Next item is a request by Hillcrest Industries of Attica to extend the sales tax exemption until September 30th of 26, which will allow for more time to complete the warehouse and crane installation.
Yeah, there's an email from Tina Kirsch, one of the owners of Hillcrest in the packet. As with all these projects, they seem to get delayed with sourcing materials and things that are needed for the project, so they're looking for some more time.
Okay, someone like to make a motion to extend the exemption for Hillcrest.
I'll make a motion to extend the sales tax exemption for Hillcrest.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to extend the sales tax exemption for Hillcrest Industries. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Request by Taylor Pullman Industries of Arcade to extend sales tax exemption for their office expansion for 6 months until March 31st, 26. This will allow time needed to complete the project.
Yeah, that email from the president of the company is also in the packet. He's actually the general manager. But Jerry, they were a little slow out of the gate to get the project started, but they are underway now. It's just need a little bit more time to finish it up.
And they're a sizable employer
They are,
in Arcade and Wyoming County, so
last I knew, they were around 70 people.
Yeah. good paying jobs.
Yeah.
Someone like to make a motion?
Motion to extend. Go ahead, Jim. Or, a motion to extend.
Motion by Tom, seconded by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Jim?
Yeah, just quickly, just want to let the board know that Finger Lakes Regional Economic Development Council, which is the state council, it covers 9 counties, including Wyoming, has meetings every quarter. They have decided to hold their next meeting here in Wyoming County, which we're really happy about. So it's going to be held in Perry on September 8th, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a-
Yeah. So there'll be a lunch meeting held at the Arts Council is setting up and having that
Conversations
catered.
and meetings.
And then the full meeting will be held at the East Hill Creamery. And again, it's going to be a chance to kind of showcase Wyoming County, because they've asked me to do a presentation about the economic outlook and landscape of Wyoming County. So we get a chance to shine a little bit in front of the rest of the counties in the region. So we're happy about that. Rick Hauser is also going to do a presentation on their DRI project as well. Can't come into the village without a presentation from the mayor. Also, I've been meeting with Peter Krogh about the expansion of their facility in the town of Arcade on Tanner Parkway. Their tenant, Base Tech, which makes us small electronic components, is in need of more space, so we've been working with them on plans to expand that building. I've been in discussions continuing with the Clerk Auto Group out of Perry about an expansion and redevelopment of their Dodge facility located in the village of Perry. They've asked for an application of IDA assistance, and they're working on that. I did want the board to know that we were pushing very hard for a CFA grant application for the hotel project in Arcade. We learned that it was declined. And so subsequently, I thought that would kill the project, but I asked the developer in this if they would give me a chance to sharpen my pencil, which I have done. So I've made some proposals back to them that come close to making up the difference of what they would have got with the grant without all the grant requirements, like women and minority-owned contracts and things of that nature. Some promises that you folks will have to stand behind once we get there. Nothing extreme, nothing illegal or anything like that. But so the company is very interested. And what we're trying to do is keep the public benefit to the project under the 30% threshold that New York State has set. Because if you get more than 30% of public benefit into a project, it kicks in prevailing wage. So we were trying to avoid that anyways. The $1 million probably would have put them over, and then we would have been adjusting the other way. So after getting our new proposal in front of them, we're at 24.4% of public benefit, which is pretty close to the threshold. So the developer's pleased with that, and he's coming out next week, and we're going to do a couple site tours. and we'll see where that goes. But he's still interested and has not backed away, which I thought we might have lost him, but not yet. And the other thing I want to talk about is just quickly on the WCBC North. It's not an IDA project per se, but we talked to the Business Center Board. The MK property on Church Street in Arcade, we had in place a designated developer agreement with a company in Buffalo, who formed an LLC, but it's really Frontier Global as the company. And in that designated developer agreement, we also put in place, with the help of council, a reverter agreement, which required them to get the site into the state brownfield cleanup project within a program within 9 months. So we signed that agreement on January 16th of this year. So they have till September of 16th of this year to get that into the brownfield cleanup project. I, to date, have not had any conversations from Frontier. They have not returned my phone calls or my emails. We got council engaged with their council, kind of getting a quiet feedback as well.
That's about it.
To share.
Not much.
So when we met as a business center board, I asked the board, I said, well, what's your thoughts on this? Should we engage, or exercise our inverter agreement? I recommended that we do, that the business center take the property back, and they made a motion to that effect and approved that. So there's a very good likelihood we, at the business center, will be taking that property back. And then the plan is to actually RFP to other brownfield developers. And I've been having some discussions with the likes of Peter Crow about this. He's a brownfield developer. He did the Trico building in Buffalo, did a beautiful job on that. That was a brownfield. So I've known Peter a long time. I've had a good working relationship with him. The other thing I did, I talked to the developer at Indus, and I said, have you ever done a brownfield project? He says, no, but I'd like to. And I thought, So when he comes down, we're also going to have a discussion about the MK site as a possible brownfield project for the hotel site. We would have to do a little adjusting with the village on the zoning. I think they would go along with that, but so those are a couple ideas that I had, but it looks like it's coming back to rest.
Jim, it's interesting that you say this about locating a hotel in our downtown where the brownfield is. I just had a conversation like a few days ago with a guy who said, why would you put that hotel out of the village when the village is trying to reinvigorate the vitality of downtown Arcade? Because if somebody wants to go someplace to eat, they're gonna have to get in their car and drive there. Or if it's an Arcade, they can walk there downtown. It kind of reminds me, and this is a different, but the new cruise line dock in the city of Buffalo in the outer harbor where there's nothing, where they could put it downtown in that D&L terminal where there's everything. Let's not do the same thing they're doing. Just a comment.
Yeah.
And it's just ironic that you said that because just like 2 days ago that conversation came up.
So I'll keep you posted on where that goes, but that's my report.
Thanks.
So the brownfield site is the old board? Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Jim? All right, next meeting is September 11th. This is the annual meeting. We are planning to have that at the Farm Craft Brewery on Route 28 in Strikersville.
Nice.
So, and then of course, we'll go through all the motions of all the reappointments.
I believe our board of supervisors meeting is gonna be the 11th because of my SAG.
Oh,
If I remember right on my schedule for
yeah, I
Thursday.
think you're right. Well,
Wrapping in this.
this is a
I
new,
did, and I already reached out to her and verified because
This is at noon.
Yeah, and then we get committee of the whole at 1.
Well, probably could. Yeah, probably get around that, but, and the meeting doesn't start until 2:30, so.
We can move the meeting to 11 o'clock and still feed you.
There
lunch
you
you're
go,
doing.
that'll work.
Yeah,
I guess it's up to you, but
it's, and I apologize, it was.
a lot going on.
Yeah.
This, and this nice act thing is early, because that's when they could access the hotels to Niagara Falls. And typically it's much
It-
later,
it
so that's
is.
almost in October
Yep.
usually,
I
so.
know.
We're trying not to get anything on the annual meeting agenda other than the stuff that we have to go through.
Perfect.
Okay,
We'll
okay.
zip through that pretty fast.
Yeah, we got down to a science.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got that settled. Anything else? Someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion made, seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay,